Check, check. Quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay, on this wonderful Friday afternoon.
Happy Friday. Welcome to all of our buzzer beaters. Thank you for joining us this Friday afternoon, maybe even evening or night, maybe even morning, depending on where you are in the world. Hopefully, everybody had a good end to your week. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. It's our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6 years. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. Been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved with the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experiences, perhaps some knowledge, and help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach. You are all our chat, our audience. Thank you for joining us. As always, let us know how you did in the chat. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Learn from the day. I see some traders saying nothing here. Past combine yesterday, up another $300 today. Good stuff. Nothing. Uh, what's up, Ajaz? Let us know how you did today in the chat, and we'll get into it. Take a look at the numbers. We did have Michigan sentiment come out this morning. Why am I not seeing on this? There it is. Michigan sentiment came in better than expected, 52.2. Forecast was 50.5. We talked a little bit yesterday about that number being a market mover over the past couple of months. It hasn't really or didn't really move the markets today, but we've also been talking for the last 2 months about the unplanned news or randomness of the planned news because it's planned at this point, right? All of the tariff headlines that we get. But those are going to be the real market movers right now and what the market's kind of waiting for. Um, we're, kind of seeing sometimes what feels to me, coach, conflicting headlines where we're making a deal with China and then we're not, or it's just not certain. It seems like just true negotiations going on right now and not a resolution as of yet.
Well, negotiations, whether or not we know it's been happening. You hit a key word, random. Um, but you can take some of that randomness out by making non-random trading decisions. That means you have to frame out your risk and exercise good risk management. And whether or not a random headline comes in, a cure for tariffs, or tariffs go up to 500%, whatever the random headline is, that you're prepared and you've taken your appropriate risk. Um, it's the only way through it.
Go. Anything else you have on the news side, coach?
Um, no, not in a headline way, but um, I think the news is going whatever this weekend something is most likely going to come out. Um,
Got an interesting headline here. And this is something that you may have talked about and I just saw this just clicking over here now. Fed survey, liquidity in treasury and equity markets was low and worsened further in April, though market functioning remained orderly. Coach, you remember you talked about a liquidity issue about a
Mhm.
month and a half ago?
Yeah. Well, you can see it in the way we've talked about it. It's been a theme here. Um, bond volatility, and or I should say, treasury volatility has exploded, and since beginning of the year. Um, Without getting too deep or placing, what happens when that it's reflecting extreme uncertainty in a market which that doesn't handle uncertainty well. It was funny you said that. I looked at the yield curve. Now, a normal yield curve is an upsloping yield curve. It goes from lower rates in the short term higher rates in the longer term, in the bonds, notes versus bonds. It's shaped like a V. It's inverted, but the lowest rates are in the middle term, like the 5 year, and the short term and the long term are about the same. That I don't know if I've ever seen it. I guess it could happen. I don't, but that just that's an anomaly. So when there's an anomaly like that, then you get extreme volatility,
Yep.
as we witnessed. So I still believe that it's going to continue, but that's my belief. I trade day to day.
There we go. Awesome stuff. Let's get into the markets. Speaking about trading, there are 35 different markets we can trade with TopStep accounts. And today, to the downside, we had soybean oil, which was our biggest percentage mover to the upside yesterday, down 0.74%, gold down 0.87%, and silver, our biggest percentage mover to the downside at 1.52%. To the upside, we had the Nikkei up 1.26%, natural gas up 1.52%, and micro Bitcoin, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 1.58%. We talked a little bit about micro Bitcoin during fast markets, just brought it up. Coach kind of slowly, just while no one
Melting
else is
up?
watching, creeping back up towards that 100,000, right? It was the only market that really held up while everything else was selling off. We talked about this 200 daily moving average. Shout out to you for pointing this one out. Uh, and starting to rally again, as the
Yeah.
equities are as well.
It it's been a silent assassin. It just keeps slowly. There's not the volatility. It's actually less volatility than the bonds. Hmm. Um,
Huh.
Very interesting. Broke a downtrend line earlier this week, and I hesitated and I missed it, and I didn't chase it. But that looks pretty good. I would be looking to buy any dips.
Tough. All right, to round out our big four, we have the crude oil up 0.78%. The S&P is up 0.72%. Gold down 0.8%, and the Nasdaq up 1.17% for our biggest percentage mover in our big four. I'm gonna go over to a Nasdaq chart. Let's go out to a daily, since we are at the end of the week. What are we looking at here, Coach?
Pretty bullish.
It, it was okay to
We
buy.
if it was okay, we talked yesterday, especially the S&P is it closed above it 2 days ago, and we are just kind of yesterday was a little different story. Today was a slow rally. As we talked, the selling pressure is absolutely been removed. Um, I I I could have seen a bigger rally. It did rally, but in front of the weekend, and where something big could happen or
Yeah.
not. Um,
I think
but
what I
it's
heard was, I mean, I think one of the headlines from the president was we're about 3 to 4 weeks out from making a deal.
okay. Well, we can't wait that long.
Right.
Um, uh, um, Interestingly, what did it close above?
To the 20 moving average and the tariff delay candle. So
The
right
delay.
now we're trading in the Liberation Day candle,
Yeah. So, and that happens to be what is it, 50-day moving average? It's probably
right about
going to
there.
hit next week.
Yep.
I, you know, this is big. This looks more and more like what was it, 2022?
Yeah. Do we want to you want to take a look at it? We look
It's
back
up
at
to you.
2022. Yeah. Let's take a look at it. We haven't done it in a little while. Um, All right. So we talked about when we were selling off, we were talking about, getting under the 20-day moving average and holding under it. And 2022 being the last time we really spent this much time under that 20 moving average. Uh, we did have a rally back up towards it where we then rejected and spent the rest of the year under it. You
Yeah.
know those when you're in the mall and you try to figure out where you are? It's like you are
Yeah.
here.
And you tried to figure out where's that?
Right. This is we are here right now. Right. So is this market still in a downtrend on a higher time frame? Yes. Uh bear market rallies. See one here. This was 2022 was a bear market the entire year. We rallied up to the 20 moving average, right? We are here right now. We just crossed and held above the 20, the 200, the 20 moving average on the daily, trading up towards the 50, which could happen, like Coach Paul just said, next week. But this is it. This is a bear market rally. So for right now, could it reclaim that 20 and then keep going? We're talking about days and maybe weeks down the line, but I don't know if we're in the clear yet. Again, there's no resolution.
Well, we'll be in the clear. What does that come into June? Isn't that part of the 90-day decision?
Yes,
So, in the present though, being over that 20, like I said, that the selling, absolutely now we're above that candle. And thinking in terms of probabilities, now I'm favoring a rally up to the 200 in the next couple months. Why? That's the way the flows turned. You could see today's action. There was also one thing, the average true range on the daily. On
yep.
my calculations, what do you have the average true range?
750.
Okay, I had it at 1,000 yesterday on the way I calculate. Anyway, let's see. Today's range was 353 in the Nasdaq, 76 in the S&P. It's a sign also of volatility falling, um, perceived risk falling brings safety. Like you said, is it safe? I still believe that institutional money will begin to come back in, and when that does, and when they feel safe, it's setting up that way in the flows that they're going to allocate again and take us back up to the 200 where we'll see. But that's a big part when volatility starts coming out quickly, and it's doing that today, started yesterday. Um, that that's a safety valve. That's almost like steam has been let out of the steam pot.
Yep,
Um, so the structure friendly to the buyers.
for sure. Let's get to a smaller time frame. Let's take a look at the put the extended trading hours back on there. Looking at last night's open, and it was a pretty uneventful overnight session, unless you're a range bound trader. Uh, Here's the Globex Open. Pretty much stayed in that range until 6 a.m. Eastern time this morning, where we looked like we were going to break, came down and held that 50 moving average on the 30-minute chart, and then consolidated for another 5 hours in that range. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, look at that selling. Was that the opening? The selling on the 30-minute? Yeah.
Yeah, this one right here.
So, and it held last overnight range. All right. And considering the rain, the rally we had, we finished towards the high. Absolutely can expect some kind of drift. Um, wasn't going. It wasn't in a position to gap and go. So what I found interesting this morning, selling, which was held as the highest volume on the half hour,
Yep,
held as the highest volume in the 3 minute, and did not close lower than that range. Important. right?
Yeah.
And I will hand it off to you on how that volume works.
So this morning during fast markets, I think we came in and said, hey, you know what? We're at the high of this. Well, at least my analysis was we're at the high of this April 9th candle. Uh, the market has a decision to make right now, right? We have seen buyers continue to step in over the past couple of days. Are we going to just reject here, or are buyers going to push us out of this range in both the S&Ps and the Nasdaq? It just wasn't the easiest buy early on, especially we have Michigan sentiment that's coming out a half hour into the session open. That's that purple box that I just mapped out there. That didn't really do anything either. Um, so the market's kind of just chopped around. I think we took a couple of trades. Shout out to Mo and Jack. We all kind of took a couple of scalps in this range. But a lot of times, for me, coach, when I see, we sometimes we get that early break of VWAP, right? Early break of VWAP from the range. When I see it look like this, I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna wait at least an hour before I trade this because the market hasn't chosen a direction. I'm a directional momentum trader. So at this point, I kind of looked away. But what we're seeing here, flat VWAP says range bound market. So each one of these extensions, if you're a range bound trader, you love this, right? Because every time it's up here, I'm selling it. Every time it's down here, I'm buying it. I think what's important in this case is to not have really tight stops because the ranges aren't going to be exact, right? I could measure this on a 3 minute and say, okay, the exact high here, and I get stopped out. Somebody else might look at a 15 minute, their range is here, but now they might see less trade opportunities, right? Or and still get stopped out here. So I think when the markets look that choppy, it's important to if you're going to take the trade, at least for me, take it with reasonable size and wide stops. And there's a ton of opportunity here. We're talking high to low in this range. It's still 125 points. Uh, so there's decent opportunity. I just know that every time I enter here, coach, my entries are right dead center.
Well, sometimes when I saw that this morning and I bought it early.
Hmm.
I preempted, got stopped out, small, and I'll put a line chart just to get another idea,
Okay.
another another vision. And that was sometimes when you have a line chart and you get away from the highs and the lows, where is it settling? Now it settled both sides of that range and didn't go anywhere.
Yep.
Um, Time to let it decide and leave. What I did is I left that time frame.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. If it didn't do it in the time frame that you're looking for, and start to zoom out because the market needs more information. Right? You go out to a 15, it's just kind of still the same case. Again, giving you some nice opportunities to fade the extremes of the range until it broke. Mm.
Yeah,
Uh, you go out to a 30,
absolutely.
same thing. Uh,
So,
Go ahead,
but
coach.
here in the 30, you start seeing a little more time in VWAP. You get a better idea of, is there buying or selling. With the 3 minute, when we frame that out and then keep that, okay, let's keep that and then go back to the half hour. Now, in the half hour, well, then we'll have to frame the half hour. Look at that 3 minute encumbered almost. What?
A half hour range,
Okay.
four
Now,
hour range almost.
yeah, there, after the first half an hour, you see that and VWAP is flat. You're getting information that this is in a range bound market
Yep.
until the price settled above that range, and VWAP was starting to crawl up. So, um, patience, or even if you're range trading at that point, okay, you get some information that it's leaving the range and it's been bought on the dips. It's been bought. Okay, I mean, if I was a range trader, I'd take that as information to back off.
Sure. Shout out to JD in the chat saying, look at the 2-day VWAP. If you look at VWAP from yesterday's opening New York session open, uh,
Jeez.
yeah,
Thank you, JD.
yeah. Shout out to you, JD. I know Hogue has been talking about that one a lot as well. Um, yeah, but
Wow.
go ahead.
One more time, go back to that. Look at the volume when we went to the 2-day, when we touched it after the open, or at the opening on half hour. So that opening half hour, we sold and held that.
Yep,
That was the highest volume.
yep.
Another
And then we get another one here. This was what was interesting here. You guys know that I'm looking for large orders that show up on the market and see how the market trades around them. 19,379. Someone had came in with a 600 lot. They never let it get filled. But what I thought was really interesting, Coach, was we had comments from the president again. I think about China and maybe not actually as close to a deal as we thought. Came right back down to that price, right? We've said it a couple times. That price meant something to someone. I don't think it's a coincidence that we came right down to there, uh, rejected off that price, and then rallied from there again. Also, right off of that VWAP. So, uh, really interesting stuff. And
look at that.
go ahead.
It was weird. On that break off of those highs and whatever, look at that high buying can volume.
Oh yeah, this one here that could
It
not
just
hold.
that could not hold.
Yeah.
But when we broke above it, uh, it really never it went back to the halfway. Like
Yep.
you're, with what we know was going on in VWAP, we still know that buyers are there. It was bought.
Yep. On what looked like negative news. And I think I heard Hogue call it out as well because he was on air at the time. And he was looking at the initial balance high, right, which is the first hour of trade in the market. He's looking at the initial balance high, and he's just like, if the president wasn't talking, I'd be buying this right now. Because Hogue's looking at it as like there's no reason to be from a technical perspective, and we've talked about this as well. Hogue was looking at the S&P, so why don't we take a look at that? But from a technical perspective, this is a perfect trade. We came right back down to the initial balance, the opening range, and just popped up from there. So I think what's good in looking at this is we know that this price action here was caused by the a comment from the president. If we didn't know he said anything from a technical perspective, coach, would you be buying up here?
I wouldn't initiate a buy up there.
Right,
Absolutely not.
right.
Why?
Because it's too far away from VWAP. We've already gotten extended, and that volume had never left the range yet. So, if you let's say you got stopped out on those comments, um, if you were in profit in this trade, maybe if you didn't hit your target, I get that right. If you had a target higher, but look at how far extended you were getting, and this is for me why I always go with kind of trailing profits because you know I actually wanted to buy the S&P and have it go to 55.90 today. Um, it was just I might have been the only person that had that opinion. So it wasn't going to get there in the time frame at least that I was looking at, right? So if I'm in a long and the market is getting extended this way, uh, maybe I don't want to take my full position off, but I'm going to secure some profits along the way. Coach Paul, you say a 2-to-1 is great on a day trade. If you got long somewhere here, let's say you bought after we got this flush of volume right here, right? Let's say you bought it up here. 2-to-1 would be 10 points. Sorry, 2-to-1 would be 20 points. You got pretty close, right? You got about a 1.5 to 1 before this flush. So I think we have to kind of measure our expectations in what the market's willing to present. If this was a trending day where this VWAP was leaving this range and acting as a support the entire time, different story. But that wasn't the case today, right? It was pretty much range bound day all day, and then a little bit of a trend later on. Um, And then again, from a technical perspective, we just came back down to something that we would trade all the time. Uh, Nice opportunities though on both sides.
Yeah. Um, and drifting up, and actually kind of comfortable. Like I said, what is the average true? Look at the average true range coming down on the 3 minute.
Oh yeah, and this is just a regular trading hours chart, but it's at 6 right at the end of the day.
We're getting back to normal.
Yep.
Um, so there was a lot of talk, go down to micros. On the other side of that coin is, when do you get bigger positions? And I think we discussed this. This is that time. One micro is not enough right now to me.
Mm,
Um, 2 to 3, not 10. Don't go back to minis yet, but 2, 3. Um, Depending on how much you trade during the day,
yep.
um, within your risk budget, yeah, you can afford a couple an on with maybe a side with your entree. But it's definitely a time you can start adding some size.
Stuff. Good stuff, Coach. Genius Genie says I used 2 to 3 micros, made 1,400 this week on an XFA. That's a nice week. That is it's slow but stress free. Stress free is a nice life. Stress free is a nice life. None of us are getting
It's
any younger. And the older I get, the less stressful I want to be, less stressed out I want to be.
it's an old story that I can't say on this broadcast. Yes, but you just hit it on the head. Um, by the way, that's it, when you're in a position where it has to be right. You're
It's,
not trading.
it's extreme stress.
Well, yeah, you're gambling,
Yep.
literally. Because when you have to be right, you're gambling. There's no control in that. You're not measuring anything. It's like, here we go. Might as well
Yeah.
get a coin and flip it.
Let's answer some of the questions and then we'll go over to gold. Coach Jay, how do you calculate daily ATR? Is it from the opening print or the high day? Easiest way to look at it is just go to a daily chart and let the ATR indicator do it for you, right? You can see this value. Maybe you can't see it. Oh, actually, right above Coach Paul's head.
Uh,
Uh, right above Coach Paul's head,
Right?
right here. Now your hand's in the way. Right above his head. This is a little white box right here. That's showing 179. That's the daily ATR. The daily range, right? You're measuring it from high to low, right? So the daily range in the S&P today was 81 points. The average daily range is 179 right now. Um,
Yeah. And
I
it goes
use
back, it
Go ahead.
goes back 14 days and averages the last 14 bars, I should say. So we'll do the same thing on a 5 minute or a 3 minute or a half an hour.
Ayush asked this question a couple of times. Coach, would you suggest me ways to work on myself? I often find myself adding to a negative VE position while trimming my winners. Uh,
Okay.
Go ahead. Yep, there you go. When he
Well,
says okay, I'm gonna go mute. Do the Kobe ISO sign and go ahead, Coach. Go to work.
um, so to work on yourself, you have to. I would say in that case, what I hear is you have to work on your trading plan. What is it in your trading plan that are you following it? So can you read that one more time?
Would you suggest me ways to work on myself? I often find myself adding to negative positions while trimming my winners.
Okay. Now, you have information there. All right. It seems to me that you don't like having losers. You're and I don't, without seeing it, but first impressions are that you're avoiding loss because you're adding to losers, all right? And you don't let your winners ride. So this weekend, review all your trades. review them, and if you have to ask yourself, am I taking the proper risk? It might not be yourself. It might be you're taking too big a risk, and then when it goes against you, you're not holding. Maybe you need to size down, or it could be that it may, like I said, it might not be yourself. It could be you're not following a trading plan. You have some value there, but you're not. But you're just, from what I'm hearing, is you're not following it. So if that's the case, you have to write down what your plan is, and right in front of you, like if you were a pilot, said that if you were if you got onto a plane and the pilot ran in at the last second, goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late," and just jumped in without checking, doing a checklist. My advice is get off that plane. Um, and the same for you. Have a checklist. You know, look for that before you enter trade. It should go A, B, C, D, check. Versus, in that you're managing your risk. What is, you have to have a predefined risk. When you have that, then you don't, and you truly accept it, you're going to get to a place where you're just taking trades in your plan without abandoning the plan as soon as there's some heat. So if that, I believe, from what I'm just hearing and from what you're saying, is that it might not be you. So to remove you, to remove yourself and your emotions, I mean, emotions are the kryptonite of good trading, is to follow a plan where it's predefined, and it's versus jumping right in and going, oh, because you're going to get heat. And I don't, all my years, there's no heat. The trades use, it's very rare. So this weekend, review that. That will help yourself understand how to take the risk and follow a plan. How about you, coach?
I just want to ask one question to Ayush. What product are you trading? Ayush, if you can answer that question. And Ajaz had a short from 55.23, stop at 55.34 half. Got stopped out on some random news, and then profit target trade ultimately went to your profit target. Would I have gotten back into this trade? So you were short from around here. This random spike kind of got you out. Uh, it's
Yeah,
hard
that
to
happens.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Would you take this trade again, coach, where you get stopped out right here and AJ says, he didn't take the trade again because you already lost the risk budget that you allotted. So what I will say is if you already if that was your full risk budget for the day, then no, you can't take the trade again, right? You have to accept how much you risked. But if you give yourself more opportunities, right? Let's say you were risking, and coach, this is your thing, uh units of measure, right? If that was 25% of your risk budget for the day, then yeah, you could take the trade again if it's valid. I think if this was random news that kind of got you stopped out, uh I don't know that I would just jump right back into the trade, because we gotta kind of let the dust settle a little bit. But yeah, if the trade is still valid, you could take it again if you still have enough risk.
Well said, coach. Because that's it. Maybe it's for everyone. You have
Yep.
to have some kind of budget. That's your daily loss limit. If your daily loss limit is 50% of your account, you're not you have to rely on luck over time. So, and I heard that, yep, that was my daily risk budget.
Hmm.
Okay, that it happens.
Yeah.
It looks like it's
There's literally nothing you can do about this. You had the right trade, and this is why, again, we are trading in the most uncertain environment that there is. This is just random.
and randomness happens. That's why you have stops. That could be that's don't think of it as a winner or a loser. It's just it's the result of the decision. And if there's a large percentage of times where that your trade wins. This is one of the percentages where it's a losing trade. So yeah, but I do like I hear is that was my budget for the day. Should I have
Mhm.
gotten in? If it was your budget for the day, and as Coach Jay said, absolutely not. And
Yeah.
accept it. Actually, it gives you an exit.
Oh,
Get
yeah,
out,
you
turn off the computer, go do something you enjoy.
yeah, I mean, and especially here, you were done early on in the day, right? We talked about we trade for freedom. I mean, it might not have been the freedom that you liked because you cost you a couple dollars, but you could have gone to do something else. But your job was done for the day. You managed risk, because this could have easily caused you to be emotional. You get back into the trade, but this is a case where it continues to rally, and now what happens, right? Ayush said, and back to Ayush's point, trimming winners and often adding to losers. You're trading gold and the Nasdaq. I do like that you're trading micros, but with trading the Nasdaq, you are trading the most emotional product, one of the most emotional products that we have here. Um, it is what it is. One of the most emotional products that there is out there. Maybe consider trading something that's a little more tame. Looking at the S&P, uh, because adding to losers oftentimes is an emotional decision, and you're doing that in you know a product that does that to everybody.
Okay, yeah. And that review, if you're adding to losers, stop. Just stop. Or go ahead and review what it's costing you. And then you'll get an answer. I mean, you will get an answer. Go review the last month.
Yep.
The more you do that, the more you can take care of yourself. It's not you, it's your execution. Okay. When you get your results, you go in and what's happening. And I think you've defined it. Now go back and actually go through every trade and like like I've asked myself, who who did this? What did someone just come in and put this trade in?
Right.
Then you get confirmation like I'm not I shouldn't do that. It becomes I'm not doing that.
Right.
So you're on a right path. You're asking good questions.
Let's get into gold, and then we'll get into some of the other questions that we have. Looking at gold on a daily, what are we looking at here, Coach Paul?
Balance, balance, balance. Look at it. The same range for like what is this, a third day?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 2 down days. Then we've kind of just been hanging out here in this range.
Mark that range. We're gonna break out of it and go quick.
Yep.
Holding the 20. It still doesn't look like a top to me. Not saying it. I'm not calling a top. Believe me. I still don't want to sell it. I'm looking for a place to buy it. It's still intact. Uh, Watch that range next week, and we settle above them, like even on a half hour basis, we should get um, a run up to new highs.
Yep.
But we're in a correction, and coach, I'm gonna hand it up. How long can those corrections last?
A long time. I was just zooming out to kind of see, look at something like this, right? Where gold, and we've seen this do this, right? We stay in the same range for 2 weeks, 20 days. A lot of times it's with, rollover, but we don't have to worry about that right now. But the one thing we did look at a little bit yesterday, coach, was the 20 and the 50 moving average starting to kind of braid around each other. And when it does this, we get into this range bound activity in gold. It's a big enough range to still trade. I took some gold shorts almost at the lows of the day today, and was able to squeeze out some decent profits from it. Uh, but yeah, we're pretty range bound. I'm calling the low of that range 32.65. We'll call it, and we haven't even really hit 65s, but we'll call it that. And the upper end of it 33.80s. But yeah, they're basically a 50-point range here in gold, which is wide enough to trade, and I think presents a decent opportunity to take some of these trades. What's this white line up here, coach?
The 200 bar moving average. And you know, noticing on that, when's the last time it bent like that? It's starting to decrease.
Yeah.
So when it starts to decrease, it's time, the time and the price action is accepting this range. It's not trending up on a half hour.
Yep.
Um, Now, with that said, the pressure's on now because the longer this goes on, the higher the probability that the distribution is going to go to the other side. That hmm, and we're finding selling on the rallies in the half hour.
Yep.
Was was that VWAP from last night or 2 nights
This is
ago?
this is last night.
Oh, I was
That was
on the
last night.
road.
And I think Dakota was short during slow markets. And he looks at his trades differently, but he's seeing Dakota's probably going to look at an hourly and say, "Hey, this is some resistance up here. We reject it
Yep,
again, and I'm going to take a short." It's the same analysis, right? It could be that simple. But yeah, that was that
yep.
VWAP from the day, and they sold it all day.
Yeah, I still, it could be taking some off before weekend. I still have this feeling something's going to happen over the weekend, or no one, a large majority doesn't want to take the risk because you can't do anything except for Bitcoin.
Right.
Bitcoin, you can trade that
One owns it.
anytime in the cash market, but not in the futures.
Right.
I can't wait till they make it 24/7 in the futures.
Soon enough. Soon enough. There was a nice trade to the long side in gold. Looking at this is
Uh,
J trade on the half hour. Closed outside and just kind of rallied from there into really into the close. Right, gold we know closes. Uh, Gold closes in this candle right here, and we still rallied again. This is a market that is just moving kind of all the time. So the
that's
official
great.
settlement is going to be down here, but nice, almost 1% rally after the official close.
Yeah,
Uh,
what's interesting is that exhaustion is selling. Came before their close, and we had so that started in Asia and ended in the US morning.
yep.
Kind of the opposite of what we've been seeing. Asia's usually where it starts to buy, and maybe you know what? It it did. It started, boy, they didn't buy enough.
It did not buy enough. Didn't buy enough at all. All right. See if we got any more questions. We'll go
Holy
over to crude oil. What happened, coach?
bonds and 10-year and are making highs
Right now?
of the week, of the day as we speak. That's yeah, that doesn't happen too often.
Jeremy John, if you're asking what tool I'm using, I'm just using a fib tool with the 0, 50%, and 100%. And then the line that I'm putting on my chart is anchored view up. So fib retracements, anchored view up, all in the drawing tools. All right, let's get through some of the questions that we have. And then, uh, coach, why are the bonds rallying right now?
You, you, you're to because there's more buyers than sellers.
Selling it for a while too.
And then seriously, is that something's coming out this weekend? That's my that's my scouting report. Um, for the bonds, take a look at the weekly. That's the weekly.
Yep,
It looks like we didn't do anything this week, right?
it
And
looks
yet
like
we're
it.
finishing on the highs of the week. And you've heard that before, Coach. How many times is the high tick of the week finished on a Friday at the close. So
Yeah.
there's urgency here on the bottom after that huge, massive, and that weekly candle does not. That was panic.
Mm,
That's another place where it's starting to subside.
interesting.
Um, it's above on the half hour. We cleared that 200 yesterday morning, and we've just been rallying since. So that's my scouting report. I'm looking for a rally, looking to buy bonds and or 10 years.
April 9th.
April 9th.
April 9th. We'll close it above the high. We said April
Yeah,
9th, like July 11th, is going to be a day that lives in all of our memories on these charts, and we're starting to close outside of that range.
I think maybe Treasury Chairman Besant is making some wheeling and dealing.
Huh.
By the way, I really respect that guy.
Yeah.
He's, um, I don't want to hear any conspiracy. I don't care about politics. So I'm just gonna put it out there now. But he was he ran the London office for Soros
Hmm.
when Soros cornered the British central bank. And what he made in one day, with $2 billion. That's
Couple
one of the
zeros.
most famous trades of all time. And Besant was one of the was running that office. He was spearheading that trade. So I don't know. I, the action tells me that something is brewing. They'd like to maybe make an announcement over a weekend. But I've been around bonds for over 30 years. I've never seen that rally like that on a Friday at the close. So something's amiss.
I mean, for somebody to be buying them right now, making new highs on the week. Yeah,
Yeah.
something might happen. Watch Hogue is doing the weekly kickoff on Sunday. Um, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. All right, let's get through a couple more of these questions. Shubham asks, my question to you and Coach Paul is: I've never traded bonds in the euro. Perfect time to answer this question. What should be ideal time frame to trade them? Are they good for scalping or trend trading? I would say there are some bond scalpers, Coach, and but I think the way they do it and the way I've seen it, they're trading size, right, and maybe looking for a tick or two on their trades, right. There's actually a couple of traders that I follow on Twitter that do that, right. They might be trading 50 lots, 100 lots, but they're looking for a tick or two. If you're trading one or two contracts, I don't know if it's worth scalping the bonds. But if you're doing it with size, that's a different story. What about you, Coach?
Um, I would if bonds or I would go to the 5 year or the 10 year.
Mm,
I think you can day trade them, but it's the antithesis of Nasdaq. You could do
oh yeah,
you want to hold it a little longer, but they still trend. Um, and you're not on a roller coaster. Unless it was 2 weeks ago, I just put that in where that market or last week where that was a serious you notice when the treasuries literally went haywire
hmm
because these bars don't give it justice to where the illiquidity is. That means when we look at a bar, we don't see if that was on volume or if it's just giving us a price, a high and low.
right.
I know I watched this. There was no the market makers had what we call hands down. They were like, "Don, I'm not making a market right now. It's too much." Um, that set off alarms, and whoever is, and we've discussed this, possible who's doing this, um, who owns the bonds, really. Um, but when that happened, we had the delay, and then we've been stabilizing ever since.
Yep.
But
Yes, we
you,
have.
going back to that question, here's what you do: start with a one lot, trade it in your practice account,
Yeah.
get an idea of the average true range in a half hour, the 5 minute, the 3 minute. So you get an idea of how much it costs to play the game in the short term, and then see if it's for you.
Yep.
It could be something you want to add to your trading.
Could be. They move really well, not as volatile.
Mhm.
Disclaimer. They can be volatile. We just saw it. They move pretty well. Addison has a question. Coach Jay and Paul, I do average 0.5 to 1 risk reward with a 89% win rate and have taken consistent payouts with this balance. Do you guys subscribe to the conventional thought process around risk to reward ratios open to help? I subscribed to the conventional thought that if you can take a payout, do that. Can I coach somebody to trade with an 89% win rate and be profitable with a point 0.5? I don't have a strategy that is that good. But if you can pay yourself from it, continue to do it. Um, I like I said, I couldn't coach somebody to do that because I just don't have a strategy that hits like that. But coach, we've both coached basketball, and I think I've told this story before. But small prep school that I coached at for 3 years, I would have 6 basketball players and then 5 kids that were just fulfilling their physical fitness requirement. And sometimes one of my basketball players would either foul out or be playing like shit, and I had to put one of the other kids in. And I had this kid Tony, and he couldn't dribble a basketball. He never played basketball before. He shot the ball over his head. But when I
He
put Tony
threw
in
it
the
at an
game,
orange
he
cylinder.
he threw it at the basket and it went in. And we tried to coach him as much as we could to get some form of a jump shot. But whatever he figured out, it went in. So I would tell him, Tony, don't do anything else but stand in the corner. When they pass you the ball, shoot it. Don't do anything else. And it
Or
would work.
throw it.
Or yeah, yeah, it would work. So again, if you can do it consistently and be honest with yourself about the consistency, and an 89% win rate is tough to keep up. Right. That's a lot of pressure. I think for me, if my strategy was built on an 89% win rate, but if you have something that you can consistently do, um, and more important, you said you're taking payouts, right? So, some people will say, my goal is to get a 100% win rate, and then they never take a payout, and it's like, okay, well, what is the purpose of that goal, right? Because at the end of the day, we should be doing this in order to pay ourselves. So you can pay yourself, keep doing it. What would you say to that, coach?
First of all, if you, that's awesome. You're getting payouts.
Yep.
I'm really, you have a high percentage. All right. So you're doing something absolutely repetitive.
Hmm.
Um, so you must be one disciplined person.
Yes.
Um, it- and it, and you're doing it. Continue to do it. Um, that's awesome. Now, you you don't have to, if you have that high rate of risk reward, or excuse me, of winning trades. You don't you don't need a actually you can't have a large uh, risk re- uh, risk return.
Yep.
So I almost that to me is that's scalping,
Has to be.
and that's awesome. But the danger, and I don't know how long you've been doing it. Danger is that you have to be good. And
Yep.
then the other part is, and it's good. I would look into longer term, if that's true, to automate it.
Hmm.
Why? You don't if it's that consistent, it,
You don't want any human intervention to kind of get in the way of it. You
yeah,
might
I
not feel
don't.
good one day.
And maybe it's me because that's not my personality. I
Oh, it's
bet you,
my me too.
well, you could have been a surgeon.
Right.
You have you have the focus. That's great. Um, but it has. The thing is, you have to always be on, and you're getting payouts. Good on you. Keep building it.
And what I will say as well is just when we see accounts like this, and the reason I maybe caution it, and again, you're taking payouts, so I can't say too much. Uh, the traders that try to do this and don't succeed have one big losing day that just blows everything up, right? And that's why Coach Paul just said you're extremely disciplined in that because you have losses. A lot of times, people that have this high win rate want to be right. They don't really want to make money. They want to be right. And in this case, you want to make money, and that's why you're cutting off your losses where you are. Keep doing that. Because yeah, most people do not have that discipline to accept the losses. So really good stuff. All right, coach, we got 3 minutes left. It is Friday. The weather's decent. Anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, it's the weekend, and go get some rest. Um, go spend an hour reviewing, like we had. Um, who was it that was talking about his trading, how he can improve himself? Go in if you're struggling, lay out the weeks, understand, just go through it, and it gives you a benchmark to improve. Well, you're going to find it what like okay, this is what's going haywire. Once you can do that, you feel that you don't have you can make adjustments and that into your decision and improve. I have a feeling you're a good person. Just there just has to be a tweak. And when you do that, man, it's really enlightening. I have a couple guys in my VIP that have been doing it, and they just passed his combine, and actually another one that got a payout for the first time. So go through that process. You have something. Everybody just takes an hour, and when there's no market going on, that's another thing. And do that, and then relax. What the
Yep.
heck is that?
Shout out to JD. Just put this in a chat, sent this over. Somebody traded. This is at 4:37. This is a 1 second chart. It's at 4:37 Eastern time. 500 contracts traded from 19,552 up to 19,588. Just mark those prices. Mark that price on your charts for this weekend.
That was a 500 lot buyer.
Yeah, just mark that on your
What
mark
was
that
the
on your
range of
charts.
that? 30?
30 points.
Uh,
Mark that range on your charts, everyone. 19,552 up to 19,588.
huh.
All right.
Late too, huh?
Yeah. I mean, right around when they started buying the bonds.
Huh.
Going to be an
Hmm.
interesting week next week. These markets are presenting beautiful opportunities to us. Be patient. Wait for your setups. Focus on your process and not anybody else's. Uh, JD just said no one market. I like that as well. And manage your risk, most importantly. There is no perfect strategy that's going to give you the answers. Risk management over everything. I got nothing else. Andrew, thank you as always for sending over the questions and helping us run this session. Coach Paul, great stuff this week as always. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we see you all on Monday.
Thank you, Coach Jay. Have a good weekend.